So let's talk about what I've been doing this week since Monday. So I have entered the world of home pinball ownership. This has been something I've dreamed of for a while, and then since we bought this house 4 years ago, we kind of had earmarked like one of these areas in our basement is going to be a home theater, and the other one's going to be an arcade. And we built the home theater in 2018. So we've had the home theater for a little bit, and it's appeared a couple times in on the podcast, but it's not really finished yet. There's still like little tweaks we want to make, which is why I haven't done like a walkthrough video of it. And then the other room is going to be an arcade, and we finally started about 2 or 3 months ago, really planning it out. And guess what? It's ready to show. It's ready to show y'all. And the first real full-size member of this arcade arrived. So I'm going to show you what it's like to buy a new in-box pinball machine in 2021. This is from Stern Pinball. It is the Mandalorian. So yes, they made a pinball machine. They teased it on May 4th. They announced it the next week. It went into production right after that, and mine came this week, brand new in the box. I'm the first person to ever own it, and it's wild how much goes into this. And I'm going to take this is not going to be a video of like how to do this, but it's more my journey into this first time getting things wrong, and not really knowing what I'm doing, only going by like all these YouTube videos. But this is how they arrive. And so this video will eventually be on YouTube. So if you're listening on the podcast feed, I'm going to be narrating what's going on in a video. But it arrives basically in this huge cardboard box, and it is 296 pounds is how much this weighs. And it came by a box truck. It's on a pallet, and he's actually using a little the delivery person's taking it down my driveway with a little forklift type thing. But they don't bring it in the house. Usually, it's actually curbside delivery. This person was actually nice enough to bring it down to my garage. But then I had to get it around to the back of the house. And it took a while for that. And I finally got it into the house. And there it was. It was next to the door to my home theater. So this is what the arcade looks like before I got it in. So I have two Arcade 1-Up machines in there, and we've got some black lights going on. I've got fluorescent carpet in there. We just painted. But I can't fit the box into the room, so I actually have to put it together out in kind of the hallway of the room, because the box is just wide enough that I can't get it through the doorway. So it comes. I already inspected the box. There were a little bit of dings to the box itself, but it didn't penetrate anything, so I still signed for it. That happens in shipping, unfortunately. But the way that I got it out of the box, because remember, this is like 296 pounds, is that I opened up the top just to make sure that things were in there, figure out where things were. And then when I look in, you can actually see that, hey, there are some instructions on how to build it and how to open it and stuff like that. So I made sure that it was in there. I cut off the sides, and some people will actually try to drop it down and pull the machine out horizontally. I didn't do that. I cut off one of the sides, left it standing up, pulled out the legs. And Tiger Claw says, I'm surprised they didn't ship it in a big crate given how fragile a pinball machine actually is. They're not that fragile, Tiger Claw. We've had this conversation before when you've brought that up. They literally are not fragile. It's not fragile. I promise you. But then I basically took, and it comes pretty much assembled. You put on the legs. So you take off the bolts here, and then you put the legs on with the bolts that are already there. So it basically comes with the bolts attached, and then you put in the legs. The brakeman asked instructions. What? So once I got the front two legs on, because the machine is resting on the back side of it, I bring down the first part of the machine and kind of lay it down with the front legs on. By the way, my machine was built on July 15th, 2021. So it actually has the date of manufacture, and I got it 2 weeks later. So then I put it up on a stool so I could set it up. This is a lot easier with 2 people. I did have my wife help me in some of these things. That's why you don't see them. And I put the back legs on, and then we were able to push the machine into the actual room. So, Podcore says, no 4 hours assembly process. No, it probably took me like 2, but that was because I was doing most of it by myself. But a lot of people can set one of these up in like 45 minutes or less. So they've got a whole bunch of like straps and stuff to that hold everything together. So you have to make sure that you don't hurt your eyes when you clip the strap that holds it in. It's like little bungee cord things. And then inside the coin door, once you open the coin door, like I said, this is a full-on machine. I could charge people quarters, is where they store the balls and the bolts for the back box. So the back box, it comes like down on the machine. And so you basically just have to bring the back box up. There's one big, huge cable that you have to guide through the hole, but it's already attached. Like, there's no hooking up of anything, and then you bolt it to the back. So when the game comes, then you look inside the playfield, and you'll see if there's anything that's holding things together. On the Mandalorian, the Razor Crest ship is inside some plastic, which you have to remove before operating the game, because that's the one thing that could possibly mess up in shipping, so they secure it down. But then when you put the back box up, there are 2 bolts you have to put in the back, and that's how the back box actually stays upright and does not go fall down when you're nudging the table, because that's how you play pinball. So the first thing then what you have to do is you take the lock bar. There's 2 latches, and you bring the lock bar, which holds the glass in. You bring the lock bar, you pull it out. And then you very carefully, usually with gloves, notice I am not wearing gloves, but you bring the glass down. So there's a whole bunch of fingerprints on my glass on both sides of it because I didn't do that right. So don't follow my advice on this. But now you actually have access to the playfield. You can remove the things that you need to remove. So this is, I am now removing the plastic and the rubber bands from around the Razor Crest ship, which is like a little plastic ship. It's not like steel or anything like that. It's very lightweight, but you're not actually firing a ball at the Razor Crest ship. It's actually just sitting on top of the things that you're hitting with the ball. And there are people in chat talking about, cigarettes and stale beer and stuff on the carpet that I have in here because it's a fluorescent carpet, looks like space. I am now making a list of people that will never be invited to my arcade. So if you're wondering how to get inside of it, yes, you actually have to use some force to get underneath the playfield, but you bring it out, you pull the playfield up and you bring it out, and then you can actually set it upside down. Essentially. Now, normally what you're supposed to do is put a blanket over the back box because it's going to lean against the back box. I obviously didn't do that. Remember, this is baby's first pinball. I don't actually know what I'm doing here. I'm just guessing. But once you have it up, this is where you can get to all the lights that are underneath the playfield, any of the other wires and cords and stuff, and you should actually check for anything that's unhooked there, or if something breaks, that's where you get to things. Now, at this point, I'm actually putting on the tilt sensor, but I forgot to film that. So you don't get to see me put on the tilt sensor, but there's a little plumb bob, a tilt bob. It looks like the thing on top of a Sim's head, and so I put that on, and it's very forgiving. You can nudge a lot more without the tilt sensor actually going off, and then you can pull the playfield back in. And then you basically load in the balls. There are 6 balls for Mandalorian. Some games only have 4 balls. And then you put the glass back in and the lock bar back down. You clamp it down. And theoretically, you're done. So then you plug in to the back. Uses just a regular cord, just same as your computer or anything like that. And then you turn it on. You cross your fingers and you hope that it all works. We check to see if it works. It takes a while. Like, once you turn it on, it kind of just sits there and does nothing, and you're like, uh-oh. And then the screen comes up, and you go, whew, and then it all works. And then all the lights come on, and it's all really cool and everything. So there are buttons on the inside of the coin box that go through, like, the guided setup, and that's how you do the menus and stuff like that. So that's how... and you can see a lot of stuff from inside this thing, and you're going to see a little bit of that menu in a little bit. But this is where you can set the language and stuff. But even in that menu, you can say, oh, now it's testing the speakers. That's where you set the volume. But you can also set, you know, how much it costs. Like if it's $1, $2, stuff like that. You can see how many times it's been played. You can see how many times a particular ramp has been hit. You can see stuff like that. And so it's got a lot of audits so you know exactly how the game is done, how many times extra balls have been gotten. And then you have your first game. So what we're actually showing here is the first game. And I'm going to turn it down just a little bit more. I had turned it down already when I made this video. And Fifth Stream says volume 11. It's actually volume 18 is factory default. It goes from 1 to 30. So they did not go into Spinal Tap. But then I basically played this first game. Now, the funny thing about this first game is we forgot to level the machine, so it's not leveled yet. So I got a really high score on this, in which you'll see in a little bit. And then we leveled the machine. I could never hit that score again. So I actually did reset the scores, so I didn't have that score, because I was like, I'm never going to hit that again. So I think what we're going to get to in a second here is one of the two features of this machine is that there is a magnet on this machine up by the child, which is what I will call it to be spoiler-free, but that's the Baby Yoda character. Also, the first thing it's doing is, the nice thing about the Mandalorian pinball machine is that it's very easy to get multi-ball. Basically, you shoot up the center ramp 3 times, which is a very easy shot, even if you don't know really how to aim. So you get a multi-ball really quickly, which makes it really exciting, especially for first-time players or people who are just getting into how to play pinball outside of avoid missing ball for high score. Tacklaw says, probably this was meant to be put in arcade. Yes, this is the same cabinet you would find in an arcade. This is literally the same, like, it's going to be in my house instead of being in an arcade. But yes, this game actually is in arcades and bars right now. S.J. Matt says, so did you set the table to a not-so-steep incline so the ball wasn't fast? Not intentionally, but I set it to the recommended incline, which is what you would find in normal play, which is 6.5 degrees. We hadn't done that yet, so I think it was a little bit less than that, and it was also not level side to side. You want it zero. You want it level side to side, but 6.5 degrees front to back. There is a bubble level on the machine that is within the parameters. I think it's like between 6.5 and 7 degrees is what Stern recommends. But we hadn't done that yet when I played this first game that we were filming right now. So one of the neat things about this is the child has a magnet, and the child will actually grab the ball. And so that's what you're going to see here is that there it is. The child grabbed the ball and holds it for a little bit. The little child toy there does not move. It's a static thing. So Carl Weathers provides all new voiceover work for this, so he actually provided new voiceover work. That's what you're hearing. And this is me getting the grand champion and putting in my initials that I later deleted because I didn't think this was a fair game. I have since beaten this score, which was 71 million, which is a low score, really, according to other people. But I was the champion. Well, that was the first game played. Mike Def says, the child has the force, Bobby, not magnets. I am sorry. I'm sorry. I got that wrong. Tigerclaw says, does the pinball machine connect to the internet like if you need to upgrade the firmware? No, it's a USB. You use USB. So the other thing this has is this upper playfield. So the upper playfield actually moves. So if you trigger the upper playfield and you get the ball, and it's a very difficult shot, but then you're now trying to hit these little lights, and the playfield will move while you're doing that. And so it'll be at different inclines as you play. And sometimes, even when you're in multi-ball, you have to deal with that being up there, which is real fun because now you've got to look both down and up and try to handle both playfields at once. I am not good at that. In fact, when I filmed this part right here, I did not realize I was in the multi-play field. I was actually playing the multi-ball down at the bottom. So now one of the other things that sometimes that happens is you probably noticed if you're watching the video, the ball kind of bounced back when it got to that stopper. Sometimes the force is so bad that it will actually send the ball right back down the ramp and you actually never get into the top play field. So that's the upper play field. And those are kind of the two things. There's the magnet, the force, and that got me the encounter champion for when I actually shot this footage. This was actually shot later once I actually played the game a little more and learned how to hit some shots, more shots than I thought. SJR Matt says the pro version. The pro version is the regular version. It has a stationary playfield. This is the premium version that has the moving playfield. And there's Grover. And so the final part of this video for the people that are watching on Twitch is actually me turning on the room, the entire arcade room at once. I actually bought and I don't have any of the voice activated devices, so I got an old school like little remote that turns on, that I can hit a button and it turns on things. Turns on outlets. And so I have the pinball machine. I have the lights. I've got black lights that we're going to be mounting to the ceiling, but right now they're on like a ledge because this is in the basement. So you can see the fluorescent. I have one button for the pinball machines, which right now there's only one, and then another button for the arcade 1-ups, which just turned on. And that's how the room turns on. And I don't have to turn on anything. The nice thing... Oh, and there was I had turned this off mid-game, which is why it was ejecting the ball and resetting the machine and getting everything set up. So, yeah. And SJR Matt says, wait, there's a CRT TV with old console set up like a bedroom. I have an NES also in here with a CRT TV, which sometimes doesn't work. It works most of the time unless you've used it for a while, and then it starts not working. But I put Duck Hunt on the NES in there so I could actually play a Zapper game. So this is that's my arcade with my Mandalorian pinball that I've had for a week now, and people are surprised that I actually came here to do a show when I could be playing pinball. If you're wondering, in the back it's dark because I have a amazing webcam, but that's actually this is the box. This is one side of the box. And so you can kind of see how tall it is here because I kept this one side of the box and the rest all got recycled. But I now have it in the room in here. So pinball, right? Everything's great, right? And you know, you just keep playing it now. Now, see, here's the fun thing about pinball is that they are this machine cost me $7,500, and even though it is not fragile, I mean, it says fragile on the box because they don't want you sticking like a forklift through it. But there's still a lot of moving parts that are tiny, and so things happen. And so I was playing, and this little guy that I'm showing here on the screen decided to join the playfield and start, I started hitting it with the flippers just like I was hitting the balls. And so what I'm actually showing is the picture here is in one of the lanes, but it's this little white thing that looks kind of like a water tower on its side is kind of the best way I would describe it. But what it is it's an LED light bulb. And it just came out of a socket. And I was like, where is this? I don't understand. And I then had to figure out how to find this bulb. And to give like some, they do give instructions. So I actually have the operator's manual here. And so I could see here They've got they have a list of all the parts and the part numbers and where they are on the playfield and stuff like that. But I didn't know where this light was, where it came from. All I knew is that it was now on my playfield because there's all those lights on here. So I was like, okay. So off to YouTube, off to pinside.com to figure out what's going on. So they have schematics for the machine. So how do you figure out what is going on? So this is when I started having to learn how to debug pinball. So notice there's a flashing light, and there's some flashing lights over here, and then there's no flashing light. And so it's because I was going through the flasher test, and I noticed the child spot had no light. Huh. And if you look, there's the child spot, and there's no light in the child spot. When there is in the flasher, that's what it looks like. And oh, look, that's the one. So what I did, this was the recommendation on Pinside, is I took some electrical tape and basically made the light fatter, essentially, so it was more snug into place. And I pushed it right back in, and then lo and behold, it started flashing again. So I didn't get ripped off on the light. This is about the 13th playthrough. It just popped out because of the just the vibration. And then I played a couple games, which I am now about to play here, just to make sure that the light stayed on or it stayed in its area. And so far it's held up. I haven't played that many games with it in, but I realized that when it wasn't in, I could notice, because it's the little light that shines on the child in the back left. But you notice how the ball actually goes right by, and it'll rattle the area that the light is in. So that's my first pinball repair. So now I am officially a pinball owner now, right? Because I've gotten a pinball machine and had to repair it all in the same week. So I'm a master at this now, right? Hopefully. Anyway, so it's a lot of fun. I'm glad I got it. I am learning more about aiming and how to actually play pinball, and getting some of the encounters. For the first couple of days, I was just avoid missing ball for high score and getting like, hey, I got another multi-ball, yay! And now I'm actually kind of learning, okay, if I really want to go up the ramp to get to the upper play field, I either need to like backflip it from the left, like halfway up the left bumper, or halfway up the left flipper, or you go all the way down to the end of the right flipper. So I'm starting to learn some of that stuff. I'm not yet at the point where I'm like, okay, I now have like a goal of I need to do this before I do this. I'm still very much in the flailing range of, playing pinball. But now that I can just go down and not have anybody watch me when I, only score like 400,000 points in this, and I'm not paying $1 every time, maybe this will also help me get good at other pinball. So when I go to Southern Fried Gaming Expo, then I'll be a little bit more respectable, maybe.